Welcome back, everyone. As we see 11-time world champ Kelly Slater, the world title race just got that much more interesting. Now Slater is going to be forced to dig his way out of round 2. However, Gabriel Medina, current #1, up against Tiago Pires and the wild card Dane Reynolds. Very interesting heat as we jump back to live action. This happened while we were away. Tiago Pires.
I can guarantee you he's trying to pick up on where Matt Wilkinson left off. Sort of the third man in the heat that everyone, maybe is not talking about. Tiago could do the same thing, and he has got that attack that's very high percentage. He doesn't go for those crazy moves. He loves to do that power hack, and he's going to keep his board on the water and get those consistent scores.
You were talking about it before the event started. You mentioned Tiago. We were looking at the heat sheets and the draw, and obviously a lot of focus on Medina and Dane. Obviously, the wild card always brings it to the table. He's made finals here against Slater, but you said Tiago is going to be the one to watch.
100%. We just saw Matt do that in the last heat. So, that attention sometimes can take away your energy.
The 29-year-old out of Ventura, California, a walking, talking highlight reel. Dane Reynolds always brings the progression. You never know what you're going to get with Dane Reynolds. It's always lightning in a bottle, his all-or-nothing approach. And current #1 in the world, Gabriel Medina, on the precipice of making surfing history, potentially the first ever Brazilian world champ. 3 wins this season, and it's staggering when you think about Medina's consistency. His lowest throwaway, a 13th. Remember, Gabriel won here his rookie year. It just shows you how long he's been at it and how consistent right from the get-go. As Tiago now finds his second wave, that first wave coming in at a 7.
Again, so, this is right where Matty Wilco left off. He's going to get those steady scores and let Gabriel and Dane try and make the mistakes. So they'll definitely have to earn this heat. It's just amazing, though, with that little stat there from Gabriel, that he is 20 years old. You talk about, Kelly Slater and having 11 world titles, and there's no way that'll be touched. Gabriel has a shot. Gabriel
Medina, the only goofy footer to win the Quick Pro in the last 10 years. Sends it to the roof line, quick floater into a quick snap. Drives that bottom turn a little more vertical on that exchange. And a clean finish for Medina. Doing exactly what we've seen all morning long in the free surfs. Just keeping that rail engaged on the water, looking very smooth.
Well, what's crazy about Gabriel Medina is he's such a smart competitor, and he combines that with his flair. He has that huge potential to land one of the biggest airs we've seen in competition, but he's very wily. He knows that, hey, I'm going to bag a couple of 7s first, and then I'll start airing everything out. So plan is being well executed right here. You can see he's definitely trying to keep his surfboard on the water, going for that high percentage floating maneuver, getting to the front of the wave. Little clean wrap here, and now he's going to go for that vertical attack. Stabs it right there. Such a scoreable maneuver, and he can really do those in his sleep. And probably his best maneuver was the finisher, and the judges will acknowledge that.
So waiting on scores for Gabriel Medina, his first wave. Dane Reynolds with priority out the back. And I mentioned in his rookie year, 2011 Quiksilver Pro France champion. As Gabriel Medina, 3 wins for 2014, leading the charge. Now he finds a left. He'll eye a very soft ramp, able to just get a little, about a 2-foot air on that. Unbelievable deft touch for Medina.
Wow, looking for a quick backup. He's probably feeling, hey, I got a solid score under my belt. I'm going to go ahead and grab another one. Maybe apply a little pressure to Dane Reynolds. He doesn't want Dane to feel warm and fuzzy out there. He's too dangerous. So I guarantee you he's thinking, hey, if I can get a couple quick scores, maybe I'll rattle his cage a little bit. And you can see one of the springiest surfers on tour, just like Felipe from Brazil. He can do these airs in his sleep. Almost look like an ollie you'd see in a skateboard. Backs it straight up into that little hop, quick stab, and keeps his board on the water there just to finish it off and nab another score.
Yeah, I was amazed that there was really no lip to that. He actually did have to ollie it. So incredible impromptu approach for Medina. Still waiting on scores on his first wave, but you can see just how active Medina is.
So dangerous. He doesn't hardly need a wave pat to grab a score. And we kind of saw that from Matt Bantingen in the last heat, just catching a lot of waves, trying to look for a ramp. Gabriel, he's got so much energy. It's crazy.
Scores starting to lock in for Medina, and a few in that excellent range, and it comes in at a 7, just shy of that. So it's 7 for Tiago and a 7.77 on Medina's first wave. And we'll wait for scores on that second wave. Medina yet to catch his first wave is Dane Reynolds.
Dane he's becoming sort of like a rare cat you see in a jungle. You know, to even just have him in a jersey right now is such a treat for us. I can't wait to see what he's going to do on the wave.
It's like an ocelot sighting. Is that what you're saying? Seeing Dane Reynolds in the lineup? Obviously a fan favorite. Dane Reynolds gets out in front and gets a little bogged down on that and stays with it. He'll quick out, and not to be for Dane's first wave, but started to see a little promise on that and then just got caught up, potentially catching the inside. So we'll stick with Dane Reynolds now on his second wave. Driving down the line, he'll send it to the air and can't get out the landing gear.
Well, there's a couple of things that makes this sort of a dangerous heat for Dane Reynolds. You know, he hasn't put on a jersey that much this year. He's done a couple of QSs. But when you don't compete that often, you get not as relaxed in the water. It becomes a big deal, and then it gets a little noisy between the ears, and it's harder to compete that way. He caught a big rail on that first turn, so this is not a good sign for Dane. Let's see if he can sort of find his footing.
And it's been an interesting journey for Dane, too. There was those times where he felt like, at least it showed that he was mentally engaged and he wanted to try. There's so many fans out there that wanted to see him surfing, but when he kind of started to show a lack of interest, it really disappointed a lot of people. But at the end of the day, it's up to Dane, what Dane wants to do.
What's so engaging about Dane Reynolds' character is he reminds me a lot of Tom Curran. He has so much humility, almost too much, where he's having tug-of-war between his confidence and really not want to showcase how much talent he has. He's almost embarrassed that he's a good surfer, which makes him so much fun to watch because, you know, for a good chunk of time now, he literally has been one of the best surfers on the planet.
Well, I think people, if you were to ask most surf fans, maybe their short list, he would have to be on the top 3 of almost every fan out there.
You go to his website and just watch his video clips, it's dumbfounding. It's amazing the surfing that he's done.
Mentioned back in 2012, made it to the finals, runner-up to Kelly Slater. Dane Reynolds just so progressive, always so exciting to see, and we hope to see that Dane Reynolds here. As Medina's scores on his second wave coming in, a 4.5. Now Medina on top, Tiago needing a 5.26, and Dane in a combo situation with 21.5 on the clock.
It's pretty intense, this heat right now. Gabriel Medina could care less who Dane Reynolds is right now. He wants to go out there and literally pop the air over his head. You know, he's so competitive, he's so switched on. So for him, you know, I think he's not going to be starstruck at all, which can happen when you have someone like Dane in your heat.
When's the last time you've even seen Medina phased by surfing against a former hero?
Well, it's kind of interesting because I thought maybe this will be the first event where it's a pressure test, but right now it doesn't look like he's buckling at all.
Not at all. Right now, let's check in with Pete Mel, who's with a victorious Matt Wilkinson.
Yes, I am. So Matt, we were just talking about how many times you've had to surf against Slater this year. Well, there's 2 that I can remember that you've beat him. Bells and now here. Good heat for you.
Yeah, it was a pretty strange heat. Every score I got was on the outside of him, so I don't know. That first one, he was in the spot, and it was a really good wave, and I would have gone it whether it was there or not. But I think from where he was, he could have done a turn right where I was taking off, so it would have been like an 8.5, and then I took off and still got a fairly solid score, and the next one was a bomb, and I was like, nah, I'm going this thing, there's no way. And then I did my turns and kicked out, and paddled back out, and I was like, doo-doo-doo, and they're like, Kelly, 9, and I was like, what the hell is behind me? I didn't see what he did, but it must have been a pretty crazy punt. And then, I don't know, he needed such a small score for the rest of the heat. I was so nervous, and I could have taken those few little waves that he took from him, and he just didn't get the score on both of them, so it worked out that I didn't go on, but it was definitely nerve-wracking.
I was just going to say, the fact that you're learning a few things surfing against guys like him, right? I mean, that's the other part of it is that, the crowd comes to the beach. Do you feel that crowd vibe?
Yeah, I'm just keeping my ratings, so I surf against him, so I have a massive viewing every time.
Perfect. Congratulations, Matt. Job well done.
Thanks, Pete. It's so great to see that smiling Wilco. You start to see the charismatic side, the more gregarious Wilco, which we love to see. He's had some shockers this year, but when he taps into that powerful backhand, it's really starting to get, I think, awarded appropriately as we check back in. Dane Reynolds.
Well, let's see if he can find his footing. That board looked tricky for him on his first ride. This looks better. No edges really caught, and there's that huge air rotation that Dane can do in his sleep. Boy, that is going to be a monster score for Dane. That score has not dropped yet.
I could watch that over and over again. The axis on that, at the tail end of that air, that was kind of opened up. He corked on the end of it. Just an interesting approach.
Yeah, well, you got these tight little transitions out here. It's just a smaller day. The tide has dropped, so these waves are really scooped out. It's actually not easy to do in air, so you have to rotate your tail out towards the beach just to find that space, and he does just that. Watch him fly that tail towards the beach. Right there, he's going to grab that rail, get those fins to huck towards the beach line. There it is. And that gives him just a little bit of space to land a night whitewash, and he actually rotates it around. That was not a whole lot of space to do that air. That is hours and hours and hours of repetition to nail a move like that.
Numbers just locked in for Dane Reynolds, 7.93. So now Dane Reynolds only needs a 4.34 to move to the top spot. Medina just sitting on a 7.77. His low, a 4.5. But remember, Thiago also has a 7 in his account. So Thiago looking for a 5.28. This is super tight when you have guys, all having a pair of 7s. The best score so far with Dane Reynolds.
We're barking up another oddball heat here. Let's see if we can, finish with a bang. But I tell you what, Gabriel right now, actually Tiago has been very patient, and he has priorities. So he's much like Matt Wilkinson. He's going to sit out there and wait for that crazy long line to string together 3 carbs and get another excellent score.
So Medina is second in line with priority, 17 minutes on the clock, so he'll try to at least just get some more numbers on the board. He'll take a look at the left. Now a little more ramp to play with. Quick snap, drives down the line. Will he get a little launch? He will. All the way around, gets the rotation, but can't get out, can't stick the landing. Unfortunate for Medina as we check back in. Dane Reynolds on his forehand. He takes the air again. It looked like a weird stale grab on that, on the tail end of that.
He did. He went for the back rail stale fish grab there, so pretty unique. Would have been interesting to see if the judges picked up on that. It's almost shocking when Gabriel falls on the air. He absolutely landed this perfectly all the way around, grabbed that rail. Look, he's already on his feet. That was mind-boggling that he didn't make that. You could see him yelling as he fell off. He couldn't believe, he shocked himself.
Had a weird, angle on that. I guess the whitewater coming at the cross direction. So Medina on top right now for the moment, still waiting on scores with that last exchange. We mentioned Medina had success here, winning in his rookie year. For a little more on that, we send it to Ronnie and Strider.
He's always collected great results here in France, Gabriel Medina. A win as a rookie, as you mentioned, Pat, a quarterfinal finish in 2012 and a runner-up finish in 2013. But his relationship with France came a lot earlier. As a grommet, a 16-year-old, he came here in 2009. He's up again. He competed in an event called the King of the Groms, Quiksilver King of the Groms, as he finishes this one off right through to the inside. And he had a perfect heat in the final of the King of the Groms event and was actually dropping a 9.87 in that final against the young Caio Belli. And I'll tell you what, 2009 was a pretty amazing year. Mick Fanning won the contest in the main event that year, and if Gabriel was in that final, I think he would have won it too at 16 years of age. He was surfing so incredibly well. Here's some of the vision. He didn't wear a leg rope for most of the contest.
Well, he's so good out here. It's crazy how good he surfs in these beach break conditions. He's got so much energy out here. He just looks like he's comfortable and at home. It's going to be, he's hard to beat out here for sure, and I can't wait for this heat to play out right now. I mean, this is one of those heats where anything can happen. Tiago, Dane, and Gabriel, that wave Gabriel just got, though, that was a great wave.
I think that a lot of his world title rivals this year would have been hoping that he would have tripped up before France and kind of left the door open for them. I think he's going to be really hard to beat in this contest. He's just moved into the lead. He's currently sitting with a 7.77 and a 4.5. Gabriel Medina, in my opinion, could go on to be the most successful competitor here in France. He might even top Mick Fanning's 4 wins.
Well, thanks, guys. If that were to happen, he would definitely potentially solidify his deal numerically with the win here, depending what happens with Parco and Kelly and Mick Fanning for that matter. Now Kelly's going to have to dig out a round 2. I remember Potts talking about 2009 King of the Groms, and I think he went on record and he talked about Medina. That could very well be your next Brazilian world champ. And Potts getting a little clairvoyant.
Yeah, it really is. It's a bold statement, but it's not a matter of when he wins the title, but how many.
Yeah.
I believe he's that good, and what makes him so tough to beat he doesn't have to catch the wave of the heat. He can literally get huge scores on very mediocre surf. He's just got so much talent. It's extreme how high percentage he has of landing those big airs, and then he can back it up and get a solid score by just sticking his board to the water and doing nuts and bolts surfing.
Can we assume, too, he's a little rattled what happened at the Hurley Pro, getting taken out? And, I mean...
I don't think he's rattled, but I guarantee it irritates him. You know, we see how much it means to him. Remember that loss he had to Julian Wilson in Portugal a couple years ago? It literally brought him to tears. So, he's an extremely competitive surfer. It means so much to him. I think he uses that as fuel.
Well, Gabriel Medina, he won here in 2011, as Ronnie pointed out. Runner-up last year to Mick Fanning as... priority sitting with Thiago Pires. Dane Reynolds in the second position for priority, looking for a 4.34. And we talk about his season, 2014. How can you argue with those numbers? His throwaway a 13th, but then 3 wins.
And this is when it's a pretty crazy year for him. He got pretty much last in Brazil and first in Tahiti. And that just shows you, this kid is here for a long, long time. He's not just about those errors and beach breaks. He got a win at Chopu, a huge Chopu.
Was anyone picking him for Tahiti? Was he on anyone's radar?
Not to put my, slap my own back, but I definitely had him on my fantasy team. I think Gabriel, he is underrated when it comes to tube riding. He's had some great results at Pipe. He's a smart surfer. It's not about just swinging around and going for reckless late drops in these hollow waves. You have to, grab scores, and he's very smart.
I think we were doing the math, too. I mean, I don't think he had a hold down in Tahiti until the finals.
Yeah, it's amazing how he just doesn't fall. He's so coordinated. He's great at switch foot surfing, which is kind of telling how his coordination level is through the roof.
That could be the Bob Burnquist influence there, the Brazilian skateboarder, known for his switch capabilities. Right now, 11:40 on the clock. Gabriel Medina on top. Dane Reynolds needing a 4.34. Priority sits with Thiago Pires, looking for a 5.28, but this will change the score line. They've taken their time with this last wave of Medina, 7.17. So now Thiago needs a 7.94. Dane Reynolds hunting for a 7.01. So now Medina just widens the lead right there.
That was a hefty chunk of time the judges took to drop that 7.17, and they realized that was a very important number that really set the scale for the rest of the heat. So now Dane is right there with him. All he needs is a 7-point ride, and meanwhile, Thiago, could he do what Matt Wilkinson did in the last heat? Just kind of sneak in there and grab an 8-point ride at the end and get the win.
Dane Reynolds still the highest scoring wave so far of the heat, a 7.93. So now Medina is just going to stay active. He's going to be looking to get rid of the 7.17.
I'll tell you what makes Thiago so brilliant. He's so smart. He knows, hey, he's not going to try and hang in there with Gabriel and Dane and go for those huge airs. He's going to wait for that wave that allows him to do those 3 steady turns all the way to the beach. He can still get an 8-point ride that way. So give him credit. He's sticking to his guns.
Having a strong finish here for Thiago to do wonders. Talk about trying to requalify and always stay in the hump, but taking a lot of momentum into his home country of Portugal. We always talk about what a huge star he is. When he walks down the street, it's literally like George Clooney in terms of the response he gets from the surf fans and just fans, period.
Yeah, he's definitely enjoying that. Being that it's a proud country. To have a surfer on a WCT tour is a big deal.
So now onto the 10-minute mark. Reynolds looking for a 7.01. Priority sitting with Thiago Pires. You mentioned just how patient Thiago's being as we take a look at CJ Hobgood. Assessing the conditions, he'll be coming up in the next heat. CJ Hobgood, Adriano de Souza, and Aritz Ehrenbrew.
Boy, Adriano de Souza is going to be a tough competitor out there today. He's so consistent. He's got those air moves. He always seems to make the right decision. Great wave selection, so look for him to be a tough man to beat.
Yeah, it's been an interesting morning here in round 1. Taj Burrow making his way out of round 1 directly into round 3. Michelle Perez, Joel Parkinson, and Matt Wilkinson. A big upset there, taking down Kelly Slater, Matt Banting. Both Banting and Slater will have a chance in heat 2, or I should say round 2, to keep their Quiksilver Pro France title hopes alive. Now 9 minutes on the clock. And Dane Reynolds needing a 7.01. Can he muster it up on this wave? Throws tail above the lip. stays with it, gets a little caught up, but just powers his way through that. And it lays into that last turn. Interesting section of the wave there as we see fins out for Medina. And Medina just looking to ditch the 7.17, a quick, easy frontside air with the claim on the inside.
Poor Tiago, he's just watching this all go down. Crazy fireworks between that exchange. Dane Reynolds, not the cleanest wave. He kind of was catching rails. There's a little bit of water flying off the front half of his surfboard, which is not really a good thing. But look at the power. Picking that nose, sliding all the way around, almost getting stuck a little too long, but he manages to get another turn in. Right here is the exciting capper. Again, not the cleanest move, but showing a lot of power, so that's really going to test the judges.
All he needs is a 7.01 on that.
Now this is a very different ride, so clean. You can see him just hovering on top of the surface of the water, showing you how much speed he carries. I love this little pop air right here, another ollie type of air, kind of throwing his hands in the air, really trying to sell it to the judges. I tell you what, that was a well-surfed wave from Gabriel.
So Medina was looking to ditch the 7.17, also has a 7.77. As we take a look at the previous champs here at the Quiksilver Pro France, we mentioned Medina, runner-up to Fanning last year, Kelly Slater winner in 2012, and in his rookie season, Medina getting the win here. But Mick Fanning has won this event 4 times in the past 10 years. That's unbelievable.
And Dane Reynolds was a runner-up to Kelly Slater. So, man, these guys are loving the beach breaks here in France. And the bottom line is it's so conducive to their surfing. Gabriel and Dane, the kind of waves that really is their, you know, in their money zone with those huge airs that they do. It suits France.
In terms of what you're seeing from Dane, do you like what you see? Got a little bogged down there, but in terms of him just laying it on the line, trying to keep it fresh with the waves that he's being delivered.
Definitely not going for your textbook maneuvers. No, he is mixing it up. But his surfboard, it looks not conventional, maybe a little wider on the nose. To me, his stance looked pretty wide on that last turn, and that's why he caught a couple little edges. But nonetheless, he got two and a half big moves on a set wave. So that'll be very interesting to see where the judges drop that number.
So still waiting for numbers on Medina and for Dane Reynolds. Dane needing a 7.01. prior to dropping into that wave, and Thiago just holding on. He has set anchor. Little movement here finally from Thiago. He has priority as we're approaching the 6-minute mark. Not an easy thing to do, to just sit and hold on to that priority when you see both Medina and Dane being active on the inside. And it looks like Thiago really working hard to stroke into this one. Times that bottom turn. Quick tag off the top. And another quick snap. Thiago just needing a 7.94. Can he muster it out of that wave?
A little claim there. He had a look back at the judges saying, score that. And that's exactly what makes Thiago so dangerous. You know, those maneuvers weren't extremely difficult by any means, but look at how great this wave is. It allowed him to tee off. A little bit of a slow start, but right here he clicks into it. A little more projection, throwing some spray with speed. Great bottom turn again, another stab. And as I mentioned, those maneuvers aren't extremely difficult, but that was a long set wave with 3 big moves. You know, is it an 8-point ride? It's questionable. He's got so much contrast. Meanwhile, on the left, you know, speaking of contrast, look at the variety that Gabriel, you know, he's just willing to boost into the air at any moment. Great carve right there. You can see him eyeballing the ramp, and there finally he finds it. That is an extremely difficult maneuver. So these poor judges, they really have their work cut out for them in this heat. You know, they really have to decipher the difficulty, progression, commitment, all those buzzwords that we have in our criteria. You know, how heavy is it going to weigh in on this scale? I mean, I can tell you right now, that is a difficult maneuver to pull off.
Medina making it look way too easy as numbers start to lock in for the wave prior to that one. And it's going to change Medina's score line prior to that wave. Dane Reynolds looking for a 7.01. Thiago needing a 7.94, but there will be a change. One last number to lock in for the current #1 in the world, Medina.
They've yet to even drop the number for Dane. We're still waiting for the score from Dane with those 2 big power moves. So they're trying to play catch up right now. It looks like the ocean's going flat. It's giving them a moment.
There it is, 7.4 on the previous wave. So now we'll wait for scores on Medina's last wave and for Thiago and Reynolds. So now Dane Reynolds needing a 7.24, Thiago needing an 8.17. So Dane hunting 7.24, and it looks like in that quick exchange, you mentioned about 2.5 turns, explosive, 6.63, not enough for Dane Reynolds on this wave.
So I think the judge is picking up on the fact that he just caught a little bit of rail, slightly slow right here to get back around the section. They're just kind of the half turn getting in there. You can see his front foot got kind of stuck on the nose of his surfboard, so even that third turn was not quite on the button, and that's what kept that score modest.
So just shy of what he needed. Dane Reynolds with priority, 3.5 on the clock here in Heat 5, round 1. Now Tiago, we wait for those scores.
Yeah.
He's looking for an 8.17.
How much credit are they going to give for wave selection? I mean, that was a beautiful wave. It allowed him to do 3 nice solid turns, kept a lot of flow, but you know, it wasn't on that progressive side. There's something to argue there.
Fair to say, too, that they're being a little snug in terms of, 7.4 with Medina. They're keeping a pretty tight line.
Think back to the last heat with Matt Wilkinson. He didn't get anywhere near the air. He got great scores with those crisp backhand snaps. So it's possible that this score could drop for Tiago in his favor.
So 2:45. Will there be enough time for Dane Reynolds to find a way? Remember, Tiago looking for that 8.17. A lot of turns in that wave. It was a good size set. You can see the beach filling up, and a good angle of just how much the tide has gone out. There's actually a lagoon separating the beach, and we're on a completely different bar, the sandbar, than we were about an hour and a half ago. And one number to lock in, still waiting for the rest of the judges to lock in those numbers. He needs a score in the excellent range.
This score is so important for many reasons. Not only does it dictate where Tiago is going to go in this heat, but make no mistake about it, every single person left in this draw is paying attention to those scores because they're going to surf accordingly. So if, hey, this gets rewarded really heavily for some nice clean snaps, I'm going to go out there and just do some nice clean snaps. Well, I'm going to go risk a huge rotation error if I'm going to get rewarded for snaps.
We were talking to Chloe and Dino, and he mentioned that the judges really awarding high numbers for spray. 6.43, not enough for Tiago, as Medina taking a quick look. So not enough, 6.43. We jump back in with Dane Reynolds. 7.24 is the score he needs, utilizing priority on that wave. So now priority shifts back to Tiago with 1.5 minutes on the clock.
Still time for Dane, only needs a 7.24. That's easily obtainable. Here's a left-hander he just caught, being patient on that bottom turn, really trying to hit the perfect part of the lip. Nothing too exciting yet, just a little cut back there. Look at that wave reformed on the inside though. So 3 snaps, just got a little loose on that third turn, more than he predicted, and kicked out, so that won't be a score.
We jump in live with Tiago on his last wave of the exchange. We'll have to check in and see what happened on the early part of that wave. But Tiago can't get a clean finish. He was needing an 8.17, score in the excellent range. 45 seconds now, out the back. Medina with priority. Dane Reynolds, the wild card, looking for a 7.24.
Well, right here you can see Tiago maybe trying to mix it up a little bit, realizing, hey, I got a great wave, and got rewarded just a 6.43. So you can see right here, he's just had a couple solid moves. He needs to mix it up. And there it is. Tries to throw the fins out in the side, a little bit out of his comfort zone, and he comes unstuck. But I'll tell you what, I think the judges got it just right here, really rewarding Gabriel for that progression.
Last 20 seconds, we'll count it down as the current number 1 will take the fast track into round 3. Dane Reynolds, Tiago Pires, forced to battle it out in round 2.
Ooh, it could be a match with Kelly right there. Dane Reynolds versus Kelly. That's something we'll look for.
And looking forward to our next heat. Adriano de Souza, CJ Hobgood, Aritz Aaron Baru will head to the water when we come back. Joe Turpel and 89 world champ Martin Potter jump in for the call. Stay close. You're watching the Quiksilver Pro France.
Do you like that? Well, if so, subscribe over there and then watch more videos over there. And then tell us your favorite videos down there. It's a 3-step process. Do them all now.